Startup Office Hours. I'm Scott Fox. Welcome back. It's time for our monthly session all about how raising money can help you move your startup forward, farther, faster with more customers, better capital structure, and better growth prospects that hopefully also add something of value to the world. So I'm Scott Fox. I'm here today to talk to you and help you out, hopefully. We're going to be here for about an hour together taking questions live from all over the world. And if you have a question about startup fundraising or startup strategy, please, you can put it in the chat room here. We're going to turn on the chat here in just a second. Here comes the chat room. If you are on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can comment there and it will show up as a chat here. I'd be happy to help any and all of you because that's kind of what I do at this point. I'm a serial internet entrepreneur. I've been at the internet and digital startup game for 25 plus years now, done pretty well at it. And these days I spend a lot of my time trying to help other people find their on-ramps onto what we used to call the information superhighway. There's lots of opportunities still out there. The game is not quite in the first and second inning like it was when I started writing my books over here, but along the way, there have been all kinds of new opportunities created as well. And entrepreneurs all over the world are taking advantage of this, but it can get a little difficult once it's time to raise money. If you don't have a financial background or if you don't know the right people, it can take a lot more work and perhaps unfairly a large amount of work to get your startup funded so that you can make a difference in the world. So like I said, I'm a serial internet entrepreneur. These days, I'm more of an angel investor. I've written these 3 books here are all in English and the others are foreign translations. So if you're joining us from somewhere else in the world and English is not your native language, welcome. Happy to have you here too. Thanks for joining us. And like I said, let me put up the link here. If some of you want to join us for, let's see, well, you can comment, right? Comment on LinkedIn or YouTube. To post your questions and they'll show up on the, that side over there. They'll show up in a second and we can start talking about that. And then of course, if you want to join me on camera, a bunch of you, there we go. There's a couple folks. Hello, Corbin. Hello, Ritesh. If you'd like to join me on camera, you can use this link here. You'll have to type it in, I guess. Although, you know what? I could put that in the chat room, couldn't I? That would be really clever and high tech. There it is. Okay, I'll put it here in the chat room for you folks if you just want to click on it. Let's see, now I got to use the chat room. That's harder. There we go. Okay, here's the chat. If you're watching and you can click on that, then you can come into the green room, the backstage, and let me know when you do. If you would type into the chat just roughly what your question is. You don't have to give me the whole question, but like, do you want to talk about fundraising or product development or strategy or team building or how to split shares with co-founders? Just give me some idea so I can work it into the show. And we'll be getting to our questions in just a minute here. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? Okay, so why do we do this? Why do we do this? I think that entrepreneurs are honestly the most important positive force we have in the world. There's lots of great people doing lots of great work, but entrepreneurs, well, we're optimists, we get things done, and we're dedicated to making the pie bigger. A lot of people are arguing over the size of the pie, right, and kind of slice it into smaller and smaller bits. But the fact is, we need to make the pie bigger, and we have the resources, and we have the assets, and we have the intelligence. What we really need is the will. We need the will to support our startup founders at all levels and all colors and races and locations and minority status and all those things, right? We need to support everybody so they can start to participate in this because it will grow the pie bigger. And that's our best opportunity for improving, well, frankly, everything, right? The politicians are certainly not doing it, right? So it's up to us. So once a month here, I turn on the camera here in my office. I'm in Southern California at lunchtime, and I try to help folks if I can by taking questions live. So that's what we're doing here, and be happy to take those questions, as I said. And if you want to know more about me, there's a page on Wikipedia about me and other stuff. But I run the Orange County Startup Council here in Southern California and work with startups all over the world. And I'm an active investor with organizations like Tech Coast Angels. I'm an LP in several funds and so forth. So I've really been on both sides of the equation. A lot of the advice about startup fundraising is kind of venture capitalists telling you what you need to do to please them, right? And then there are often entrepreneurs telling their story. There aren't, unfortunately, as many of us who have both raised money as entrepreneurs and then also become investors who also then take the time to discuss it and offer the opportunity for other people to give feedback. So that's what we're doing here. And I'm trying to help you out if you have questions. So like I said, jump into the chat room if you'd like. And or I see a couple people coming in backstage, Rick and Michael. And looks like we got two Ricks there. As one of those, coincidentally, two Ricks, or well, I guess we'll find out. As a quick disclaimer, this is not qualified legal or financial advice. I do have a law degree, but I'm not your attorney. I am not a financial advisor. You need to consult your own experts because every situation is different, and it's up to you to make things happen on your own. Okay, I'm just trying to help. This is entertainment value only. Hopefully, it's entertaining anyway. Right? And also, this is being shared, recorded and shared, and will show up on YouTube and lots of other places. So hope to be helpful to you today. That's the bottom line. There are no sales pitches. We're just trying to help. All right. So I think we're ready to get to our activities here. If you wouldn't mind, like I said, I'm doing this for free as a volunteer. Would you like and subscribe and smash that button on YouTube or LinkedIn? Give a little thank you, etc. Share it, all that kind of stuff. I'd really appreciate it, and so would all the other people that come back every month to do this. All right. So we've got, okay, so I see there's Michael again. Hey, Michael, and Kevin Dietz and Rick. Could each of you guys just put in, yeah, Kevin, you right there where you typed, could you just give me a quick, just a one-liner what your topic is about so I can connect the dots, and we'll do this in an order that makes sense to the audience. And the rest of you guys, thanks for joining us, Tom and Sippo and Gutswings and Corbin and Riddish. Lots of folks here today. And there's Dan. Oh, Dan's got a question. Good. Excellent, Dan. That's good. Let me also point out you can join our mailing list. This is a mailing list that's very useful. It contains not just events, not just these events. It's like all the good events I can find, as well as articles and things that I find around the web. And I think it could be useful to a lot of you. So, okay, now that I guess I better stop preambling and get going. Looks like we got a bunch of questions rolling in here. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything else here that I need to say before we get going. Okay. Well, let me just say this because I always forget to say this. If you do have feedback, email us. That's the easiest way. Would very much appreciate it. Also, if you want to connect with me, there it goes. I'm on LinkedIn, and you should be too. That really is the place where the stuff is happening these days for business. So if you're not active on LinkedIn, I'll tell you, a lot of firms I look at, early stage companies, have a really weak LinkedIn presence. Sometimes they're so early stage, they don't even have a LinkedIn. They haven't announced themselves as a company. So you guys got to get on there. I know it's a pain, but it's kind of one of those things. You set it up once and it's good, right? At least for a while. So I would get out there and do some of that. If I were you, LinkedIn, get your profile up to date. And by the way, if you're looking for fun, here's a key one. Actually, this happened last week. I was at a screening for an angel group I belong to, and we had several companies pitching. Sorry. So they had gotten through the pre-screening and they were pitching. And I went to post on LinkedIn and say, congratulations, thanks to these companies for pitching us. We hadn't made an investment decision yet, but I wanted to promote them on LinkedIn, give them some sunshine, for their work, and say, hey, these folks seem like they're, on the right path. And I couldn't even find them on LinkedIn, right? Even the founders, sorry, no, that's not it. The companies I couldn't find, and the founders still had their day jobs or their former jobs as their number one employment thing. So when I searched on, call it the banana company, when I searched on the banana company, I could find no employees and no company. And when I searched on the individual executives, they didn't list the banana company as something they were even doing. So how are we supposed to believe that this is real, right? So you got to be careful about this. Don't spend all your time on TikTok. Get over on LinkedIn and upgrade your settings over there. Okay. So thank you all for coming. Let's get to it. So let's say Kevin, I'm looking here in the chat room. Let me put that up again. If you guys want to join me on camera, it's always more fun to have people on camera. And I will get to the text ones also, but priority to the on-camera folks. Okay, so I'm just reading here real quickly. Kevin, okay, close to MVP. How can he gather audience for a new launch? Okay, that's a good question. Michael, what local communities can aspiring entrepreneurs interact in? Yep, find like-minded individuals. That's a good one. Okay, Kevin, my main problem, chicken and egg. Tons of getting early adopters. Okay, so we got a couple versions of the early adopter thing. Okay, well, let's get started right there then. Sorry, let me just look quickly at the chat room ones as well. Income, yes. Okay, pre-seed funding. Okay. All right, so let's go. I'm going to bring some of our friends on camera here. Let's see who wants to go first. There we go. Hi, guys. I guess you can hear me, right? Okay, Can some of you talk? I'm not sure I can hear you yet. I see Michael and Kevin. Yep, you're both talking, but I can't hear anything. We are muted.
Oh, there we go. I unmuted.
There we go. Okay. Who said that? Somebody unmuted.
Michael. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the microphone button's in the center there, I see.
Got it. Okay. So, all right. So let's, Rick and Kevin, how about you guys? Nope, still not hearing you, Kevin, and Rick either. Okay, well, I guess we'll lead with Michael then, and we'll figure out the other two. You're on Linux. Linux.
Let me know.
Who was that? Was that Rick? Yeah, a little bit. You're real choppy there, Rick.
This is Rick.
Yeah, that's not working, but we'll come back to you. Let's start with Michael here, and we'll get going. Sorry for delaying you, but we'll go. And then, Eco also just joined us.
Thank you, Scott, for being here. Love chatting with you. So just for me, I don't specifically have something other than saying that I'm an aspiring entrepreneur myself, looking to engage in communities and work on some maybe local projects with other entrepreneurs. So maybe you have some tips for local communities, such as San Diego Startup Week. I just got a ticket for that. I'm looking forward to going to that. But any other things for resources that entrepreneurs can kind of connect with locally that are available to us?
Sure. Yeah, I spend a lot of time. Michael, he's here in Orange County, which is where I am. We're between Los Angeles and San Diego. So we're kind of a very developed, but still kind of a suburb, right? So we have to find things. And this is probably true of a lot of you. Not everybody lives in San Francisco, right? So yeah, I spend a lot of time developing community here in our neighborhood physically. But the COVID knocked down so many of the events, it's hard for everybody to get together, right? Mike, the quick shot I would have for you is Meetup. Meetup has thousands of groups of all kinds. And even if those of you who are familiar with Meetup haven't checked in lately, there are new people adding new groups all the time. And I run a bunch of Meetup groups across different cities even, right? And that's a good way to find people that are like-minded. And then the trick, of course, with that is with all the other things is that getting on those mailing lists, then they'll start adding you to other mailing lists, right? So my second thought would be, and this is for everybody, not just Orange County. I can get more specific in a second from Michael here. I sign up for lots of newsletters. I get lots of newsletters. And what I do, especially now that things are virtual, I hate to admit this because I don't want you guys doing this to me, but if you go to an event and register, even if you don't show up, they usually put you on the mailing list, right? And then you start getting more and more and you find more and more things. So is that really obvious? But that works for me. Is that something, have you tried those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So Indie Hackers Community, I just discovered that one, which has been around for a while. Great resource. I'm starting to get more involved in that one. Subscribing to independent bloggers. I follow a lot of newsletters too, which I really like. So that's certainly a good starting point.
Yeah. There's also, of course, everybody's got Discord channels, right? It's just hard to find those. So what I would, to get even more specific, I would, not specific to Orange County, but in niches, right? Find the niche that you're into and find those bloggers. You're on the right track. I follow certain investors I like, or certain kinds of products or industries, and find those bloggers. And every now and then, they'll have an event or something. And these days they're virtual, which is not as much fun perhaps, but it means you can get invited to stuff in New York or Singapore, and that's really cool. Specifically in Southern California, the other big one is alumni association. So if you have any connection with a local university or even high school, I guess, but really universities are where this happens. Alumni associations are always running different stuff. Like I run the Stanford Angels here in Orange County, as I think you know, and here in Orange County, UC Irvine, and there's things going on. Fullerton has a lot of things. And getting on the university mailing lists is a good one. And also incubators and accelerators, because they are in the business of connecting things. In fact, that's a specific one. I don't know if you've encountered the Long Beach Accelerator yet, but there's a Long Beach Accelerator run by a friend of mine, Andrea, and they've become really active in the last year. And they have some really cool events. So Long Beach is a little drive for us, but not terrible. I would look at that one. There's also LAVA, the Los Angeles Venture Association. They have events that you might look at. And what else?
For those incubators, Can people join even though it's not your idea? Like you just work on someone else's idea and kind of partner with other people?
Sometimes, but I'm not talking about joining them. I'm just talking about going to the happy hour that they have, right? Or they'll have a demo day or something. Just going, not actually enrolling. Enrolling is becoming part of the incubator is a whole process, which could be great. Depends on the incubator, right? And how much equity they want for it. But by going to the open events that they have, you'll meet other entrepreneurs. And I thought that was the core of your question. So I would look at that. Actually, UCI has the Wayfinder program too, which is a big one. And they have open demo days, and you can go. And the new venture competition. Yeah, any big university these days, either the undergraduate off in the engineering school, or if they have an undergraduate business school, and the graduate business school for sure. There's entrepreneurship stuff going on all the time. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. And by the way, the rest of you have ideas, please put them in the chat, right? You guys can use the chat. We can all use the chat to help each other too. I don't have all the answers. I'm just kind of the host here, right? So if you have suggestions for Michael, please type those in and share them with him as well. Cool. Well, nice to see you. Nice to see you, Michael.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Scott.
See you again. Tuesday the 2nd, running another happy hour in Irvine. So that's on the Orange County Startup Council blog. So you could come there as well. Okay, so that's our friend Michael. Thanks for joining us, Michael. And let's see, who else we got here? So sorry, let me take a quick peek at the chat. And so, okay, Tom and Carlo and Rick. Kevin, Kevin's back. Okay, got over the Linux thing. Okay, so let's talk. Well, Rick, let's see if your microphone's working any better. How's that?
Can you hear me?
Oh, that's a little better. I think so.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So where are you, Rick?
So hi, Scott. Sorry.
Where are you?
Oh, I'm based in Riverside. I think we have met. Part of the startup that I have started was the breadwinner's job to provide the temporary employment services, and I used to when you held the mastermind group.
Okay. Yeah.
That startup was
shut
shut down due to AD. Well. I'm here to, I just came with a new idea ready to launch. We have developed a landing page, and the idea is one. So a lot of the time people are doing research based on Quora, Reddit, and watching research platforms where you can really connect one-on-one experience. So if I, or, you have been to Philippines for travel, and you can advise where to stay, what not to do. There are only bloggers. There are no one-on-one advices. So people can really connect on one-on-one.
Okay. So what's the question?
The question is, right now we are targeting new moms and new travel. How can we expand this? Like, how can we give them, collect their feedback, and go from there?
And is the product launched?
So we have landing page. The product will be ready within 3 weeks.
Okay. And the product is what? Just roughly.
Is an app-based
matching server.
Product is app, so you post it right away within 30 seconds or 1 minute. People will call you, right? So if once we have can call you right away, and you can get your question answered. You don't have to go through the blogs. You don't have search engines. They just tell you what they know.
Okay. Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay. So for travel advice, like if I go to Las Vegas, can I find a babysitter? That kind of thing?
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So how do you find, so how can Rick find more moms and travelers and people that would be interested in this? So anybody has suggestions for him, please chime in the chat room. I'm sure he's open to suggestions. So let's see, what would I do? Well, the trick is, of course, these days, it's really hard to do anything without spending money, right? You used to be able to go on Facebook and attract an audience, or LinkedIn, or, all these social media. Now they're trying to monetize us all the time. And unless you've got really good dance moves, even TikTok is tough to penetrate, right? So I guess I would be looking more grassroots. One of my mantras is always to try to buy wholesale instead of retail. So by that, I mean, I would be looking for places where you have a nexus or a collection of those type of people already, and try to get a bunch of them at once rather than engaging one at a time. Of course, you can engage one at a time. If you get a big fish, that could make a real difference. But I would be thinking about travel agencies, or to the extent those exist anymore, or local travel bureaus, or like the Chamber of Commerce in a big city like Orlando or Sydney, or Honolulu that has a lot of traffic. And maybe you start with a specific city rather than trying to do the whole world, and working with them to try to provide resources, that kind of thing. It's hard to build things anymore one person at a time. Or you might turn the telescope around, look the other direction. You might go wide and start like a podcast or something like that, where you're giving context in a travel show that's sponsored by your new business, right? So that there's content there for people to engage in. And of course, those are all kind of almost Web 2.0 ideas. These days, you really should be thinking about social even before that kind of stuff, right? So if there are things that you can do that would be viral and shareable, with travel, you have the beauty of all kinds of photography, ideally, right? But I guess I would be thinking about something like picking a specific city or a country where you had some connections, maybe, to make a really good sort of beta product. And so that then you could kind of say, look, this is what we did for Dallas, Texas. Now we're going to expand to Honolulu or whatever. So they call that land and expand, right? Get a beachhead and then try to grow from there. Or you got to, the problem is with the mass audience thing, you're trying to get a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of content at the same time, right? And adoption. And you kind of I think you need to narrow one of those down, is what I'm saying, right? And maybe you are. Is that helpful?
Yes, absolutely. So again, we have that people who has the experience before that advise the people, but at the same time they also have some questions in different areas that we are thinking is gardening, traveling, motherhood, nutrition, and many things more. But right now we're just focusing on two categories mainly, which is travel and new questions all the time. And they kind of get scared that they don't know what to do with their babies, or new blogs and everything. So rather than connecting with quickly who has been to them, the advice on one-on-one based, kind of make them comfortable. Same thing with the travel, right? I mean, when you read the blogs and watch YouTube videos and go on the tour, rather than just telling, if you go to India, this is the place you want to be, this is the place you don't want to be, and this is the food that you should try this food, right? So
right,
those kind of things really people to kind of give them courage what they need.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that I get the angle. So another one occurs to me is the new moms thing. What I was looking for was, where's the money, right? As this is a show about fundraising, right? So what you really got to think about is, where's the money? And this is for everybody listening, right? Whatever your question is, back up. Where's money? Because that's what investors want to know about, right? So in this case, new moms spend a lot of money on, fortunately or unfortunately, but they have a new child and all these diapers and, a crib and all the, whatever, all the stuff. And that's a cash flow situation that you could get in the middle. And the people that have the best databases for that stuff are the diaper companies or the baby formula companies like Gerber and people like that that make baby food. And partnerships with them is another place I'd be looking, because they already have the audience that you want, right? They've got lists of millions of new parents. And if you could somehow demonstrate value to them, maybe they could bring you in as a partner or something, and that could really jumpstart what you're doing. That might be worth some research.
Sure.
And I've seen companies do things like that. So that's what I would think that might be a little different than what your competitors would be doing.
One last question, Scott. In this age,
okay.
These days, a lot of startups are coming, and one of the main advertising revenue. Is advertising revenue really dead, or we can still make money and revenue? In the beginning, I understand if we don't have 1 million or 2 million user, no company wants to advertise with them. We may have to do the dry run until that point, but it still is really feasible.
Yeah. It's gotten a lot harder, right? We are all trained as consumers to ignore all the ads. The tracking is getting harder for privacy reasons, which I actually agree with. So it's tough. What I would suggest is thinking more about sponsorships. There can be real money made still with sponsorships. For example, if you got a diaper company involved, they're probably not going to pay on a per impression basis anyway, because it's going to be, or a per acquisition, because it's going to be hard for you to connect the dots between using your travel app for new mommies and them buying more diapers, right? It's probably more of a sponsorship situation anyway. And then the good thing about that is that you're dealing in round large numbers. So, like $5,000 a month instead of 50,000 impressions at 10 cents each or something, right? So I would think advertising broadly defined, like banner ads, yeah, that's going to be tough. But if you include sponsorship as a kind of advertising, I think that's still happening. And you see a lot of that more like in podcasts lately, like there are actually more and more sponsors all the time. It's sounding a lot more like regular radio, right? Because there are audiences there. So the trick is, of course, to have the audience. Once you have the audience, I think somebody will pay you. But like you said, it's not like you're probably your first step, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, nice to see you, Rick. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Let's move on and see who else we've got to join us today. Okay, there goes Rick. Let me do a couple, let's see, you can comment on LinkedIn. Let me change our chyrons here a little bit. Hey, I want to try this out. There's a new one. Let's see if I can get this working. This is supposed to, oh, look at that. Hey, high tech. So I can do both of those at once, huh? All right, speaking of junking things up with ads, I guess that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to junk things up with ads. Just a quick reminder, this is being recorded and shared. This is not qualified advice. This is us just having fun. And please like and subscribe. Okay, so that's us. And let's go see who else is here. So Rick and Tom and Christian and Kevin. Okay, so let's go back to Kevin because he was, Kevin, let's see if we can get your microphone working this time.
All right. Is it working now?
Yeah, that's much better. Sorry, we
All
had
right.
to take off Linux.
We ditched Linux and went over to the Mac.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, nice to talk to you. I'm
Sure.
glad we could take this. So, well, let me give you just a real brief pitch, and then that will kind of lead into the question, which I've already alluded to the question. So we're working on software developer productivity. The name of the class of product that we're working on is come to be called an internal developer platform. And an internal developer platform is designed to help. Software projects are very complex these days with cloud and microservices, and developers is a really hard job. I mean, you have to juggle so much dynamic information, and it's very hard to become productive, especially if you're onboarding onto a new project or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so there's a new class of tool that's kind of coming along, like I said, called an internal developer platform. There's people coming at this from different angles. So okay, one angle.
What's the question, Kevin? Sorry, we got a lot of people waiting.
Okay, all right, sorry. So the question is, how do you crack this nut? Like there's tons and tons and tons of validation out there. So I don't feel like I need to go out and get 10 customers to prove anything. Like there's massive tons of proof out there already. But I don't have any customers. I don't have the MVP done yet, and right. It's a chicken and egg problem. We're gonna need quite a bit of funding in order to do this. That's the question.
Yeah. Okay. So unfortunately, I understand you. Sorry to cut you off. We just got a lot of people today. The idea that it's proven is true. I mean, you're talking about a GitHub pilot sort of stuff, that kind of thing?
Yeah, more or less. It's in that ballpark.
Okay, yeah, so which is super cool stuff. I agree it's been validated. The problem is if you're talking about from an investor's point of view or even customer's point of view, yours hasn't been validated, right? So unfortunately, I think you do need those first 10 customers because the fact that it works for you and you believe it isn't the same as customers and me believing it. Yeah. That's just the fact, right? And so it's easy to believe in yourself, and that's awesome. You have to, right, as an entrepreneur. But without customers, why should I believe you? I mean, I don't know you, right? You know, no offense, right? It's like,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
I mean,
I get it. I
especially
mean,
talk about investors, they're not going to believe that unless it's your uncle or something, right?
yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, that's basically the dilemma that, that I'm in right now. I just feel like the adoption cycle of how tools like this get adopted, it just is not going to get adopted on a onesie, twosie, threesie kind of thing. It takes a certain critical mass of people being exposed to this, being impressed with this, having a free version that people use, and it just takes a certain amount of critical mass and fermenting in the community before there's going to be any significant volume.
I hear you, and I sympathize. I made the mistake it sounds like you're making. First company, I raised money for it, VC money, and the idea was that when we got to scale, it would be amazing. We never got to scale, right? Because I didn't go out and beat the bushes and demonstrate exactly what we're talking about. So I've lived this. I hear you. I'm sure it's amazing, but at the beginning of the road, you got to do things that don't scale. And I think that's a Y Combinator mantra, right? You got to go get those first customers.
Heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, everybody in the chat room, if you have better ideas, please tell him. I mean, he sounds like a smart guy. He's got what you have sounds like a cool platform in a hot space. You've got all the pieces, but this stuff doesn't work on faith, right? And the things that don't scale, those first 10 customers, you can ramp it quickly. It sounds like you've researched this stuff. I mean, you can don't just get 10 random, ideally get 10 that are really influential, right? And then incentivize them to spread it. And then it could maybe take off. But chicken and egg, yeah. There's no good answer to that except to go out and do the work. Sorry. Anybody, and please disagree with me in the chat room if folks want to.
I mean, there are companies out there that do get funding, right? I can point to companies that have gotten funding. I don't know if they had customers at a time. Swim.io, has raised $30 million. Ops Level has raised $15 million. Sourcegraph.com has, they're doing well now, but they've raised $225 million from Andreessen Horowitz. So, there are companies out there that have gotten funding.
You don't know.
Early
You
on.
can't see inside, right? I mean, it's like you don't know. Who had an uncle on the board who might have an amazing track record that you didn't see. An advisor that's happening. I don't know those stories specifically. I will say valuations have come down a lot. So any of those numbers, I bet you'd probably cut in half, if not more, in the last few months. But you can't see behind the curtain, and or they have just an amazing salesy sort of guy as the CEO. That certainly helps. All those pieces. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I would guess that in every case there are things you can't see below the surface that help that happen, right? Because I've literally lived what you're living. And I was a smart guy, and I thought I was connected, and I beat my head against the wall, pretty much bankrupted myself, literally, and crawled my way back. But I learned my lesson, right? And so customers first. That's honestly these days it's customers even before product, a lot of times, because the problem these days isn't the idea or the service or the product anymore. It's distribution. It's exactly what you're saying. Everybody's online, and they're so distracted. How do you collect an audience? That's the hard part, not the product anymore. So unfortunately, that's the challenge. We're going in circles. I'm going to have to move on here, but yeah, I validate your pain. If that helps.
There you go. There's your validation.
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Kevin. Everybody go in the chat room and give Kevin some better ideas. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, so let's. How about Christian here? Or sorry, Tom. Tom was up ahead of you, it looks like. All right, let's meet our friend Tom. Here comes Tom. Hello, Tom. Need to unmute there, it looks like. Let's try that again. If you're just tuning in, I'm Scott Fox. You're listening to Startup Fundraising Office Hours. I do this once a month during my lunchtime to try to help founders like you all over the world, including Tom here, who I still can't hear. No, am I doing something here? It looks like you're not muted, Tom. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna have to move on here. Well, I'll start hitting the chat room here in a couple minutes as well. So put your question in there, and also see Carlo. There's a Carlo in the backstage room. If you want to turn on your camera, we can bring you on. But we're going to bring Christian in the meantime. Here's our friend Christian. Can I hear you,
Yes,
Christian?
hello. Thank
There we
you.
Sure.
Thank you
Nice.
very much. I apologize my accent. I have a startup in Paris, in France, so my accent maybe hurt you. So there are two projects. Our project is to provide blockchain,
Okay.
and the stakeholder is satellite. They have constellation on satellite, and our idea is to provide them with blockchain. So blockchain it's a new project, and satellite it's an old project. That means they have I don't know 50 million revenue or funds per year, by example. We have nothing because we are blockchain is new, and the problem is the venture capital ask us past record, or they ask sales, etc.
Yeah.
This is the first problem. The second problem, because there are two problems, in order to sell data on blockchain, you need, like in United States, an authorization, because you sell assets, you sell digital assets. So these assets, they should be validated or something secure. So you need a license. It's like casino, when you open a new casino, you need a license. Before to have clients, you need to have a license to open the casino, so you have no license. So this is our case. So we cannot deal with the venture capital, because we cannot tell them you need a license, because in order to get accredited, approved by digital service provider, as digital service provider assistance, in order to get approved, you need to pay. It's not free.
Okay.
It's not. You need to pay. So we need funds for that. So we don't know how to deal with that. Honestly, on my side, because we cannot deal with that, they say you have no customer, etc. We don't give you money. I told them our stakeholder has, I don't know, 15 million revenue per year. They have growth, they have user. So this is old project. So if you want security, you have an old project. And if you want to pay a new project, because they need investor in a new project, not in an old project, you have to put money here. So this is a problem, and I'm not sure this is a solution to sell, go to stakeholder and.
So what's the question? I understand it sounds like problem.
How to deal with the venture capital, because they ask myself to have past record, and I have no license. And every time they come to me, I say, go to my stakeholder if you want past record, because investors were there, so go there. But if you want, so how to deal with that?
Okay. Yeah, so that's a hard problem. I don't, as you're a smart guy, right? So I don't have a specific answer, but I have an idea for you.
Excellent.
Well, two ideas. One is you have to raise money from not venture capitalists, right? From friends or family or relatives, and just get going on your own, because these days all the venture capitalists are so greedy, because they've made so much money, and there are so many companies like all of you guys trying to do things at the same time. They can wait. There's no rush, right? They wait until you're making money and then they invest, right? So it's the same chicken and egg problem that Kevin was talking about. So if you can fund it yourself, that is one answer, and you know that, right? But that's one.
Finish. We don't. We funded ourselves, but at this point we have no more money to pay for the license, because we need license in France and in the United States, and it's very expensive. It's legal, etc. It's very expensive.
Right. Okay. So the other idea is this: is that a lot of times, if you have a real business opportunity, people have trouble raising money. And like I said, I've had this trouble myself. It isn't so much that you, how do I say this? You need to find different investors, right? Because not every venture capital firm is the same, right? They have specialties. And these days, there are so many companies, but there are also so many investors that it's really hard to find the ones that match what you're doing. And my recommendation is for my next book, I'm going to be writing about this, is that whatever percentage of your time you spend on the product, you spend twice that on finding investors that already are interested in that product. So that when you pitch, you're talking to people who already know. So you may be doing this. I apologize. I'm talking to everyone here, right? But the trick is not to have a great product and then talk to 1,000 investors. The trick is to have a pretty good product and know who's going to invest in it before you even call them. I mean, hopefully, right? You don't know, but like you're doing, blockchain, securitized tokens or something like that in France. Okay, well, who does that, right? And drilling down before you even get too far and finding whatever it is. It might only be 3 people, right? But getting to know them and building relationships sooner rather than later before you run out of money. So I don't know that this will help you, but everybody thinks, all of us are, if you're a product person, especially you have like an engineering background or something, you're in love with the product and the problem and solution you've come up with. You spend all your time with this, and you need to think about, well, of course, who's going to buy it, but then who's going to support it and who's going to invest in it is people that probably have done this before, right? It's not like you're going to invent something that suddenly new investors are going to appear. There are people that do this all the time, no matter what your field is, and especially in blockchain these days, right? There's lots of them. So that's a long way of saying, I apologize, long way. There are resources. You spend more time finding different investors, because if you're not a financial person, and I don't know you, or this may not be you, but for everybody else, all banks are not the same, and all venture capitalists are not the same. Not all angels are the same. You need to find the people that already do this and meet them. So while we're here, I have actually a special offer I was going to offer everybody today. I have actually, it's funny, you set that up. I didn't do this on purpose. This is not a sales pitch, but I literally have built a new service to help this, and it's called startupinvestorsdirectory.com. And I'm not even going to type it in because I only want people that are listening to get this, okay? And if you go and look at that, it's designed, it has hundreds of VC firms, and you can filter them out to find exactly what they invest in so that you can help this chicken and egg problem. So startupinvestorsdirectory.com. You can go look right now if you want. Yeah. And if it looks interesting to you and anybody else listening, use the contact form on the site and send us a message, and we'll send you a code for free, because we need beta testers, right? We want people to go check it out and then give us feedback. So startupinvestorsdirectory.com. Thank you for the setup, Christian. You set that up very nicely for me. So that's an idea. I don't know if that will help you, but finding the right people is better than, same with Kevin. There are people that do this, right? You got to find them. And there might only be 2 or 5 of them in the world. Spend your time finding them, and it will be so much easier than sending out 1,000 pitches to people who don't have, any background or interest in this, right? They just find it annoying, and that's not how you want to spend your time. So anyway, I don't know if that's helpful, but everybody, please, in the chat room as well. And that's good.
Is the same reasoning for ICO, because on blockchain there is a lot of ICO. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same answer for that too.
That's right. There are people that do this. 10, 20 years ago, if you had said that, nobody knew what you were talking about. But there's plenty of people doing blockchain now, and there's whole funds just doing tokenization and different Web3 securitization strategies, right? That's definitely a thing. So you got to find the right people. And especially in France and Europe, they're more conservative, right? So the venture capital industry is not developed. Yeah. Okay, well, that's what I got for today.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
So, okay, so let's hit the chat room here. Hopefully this is being interesting to you folks. Thank you all for being here. This is a community service effort to raise up everybody's game. I'm going to dip into the text here. A lot of people have been talking here, and I've been busy with our on-camera guests. Let's see. So Okay, Corbin. Actually, Corbin, you sent in a question, didn't you? Can you come on camera? We'll talk about that if you can. Let me place that link again. I'll put it in the chat room in case any. Well, we're running out of time here, but let's see. Is it still in my? It is still in my clipboard there. If anybody else wants to join us, okay. So, okay. Sippo says, glad to be here. Dan says, a startup that I'm a large shareholder in is planning to go public in 2 to 3 years. What should I start doing, researching to mitigate capital gains taxes? An investor on the line. Okay. So Dan, nice to meet you. Let's see. Okay, so they're going public. Okay, so congratulations, first of all. That's a rare thing, and I hope it goes well. I hope you'll stock exemption. It's section 1202 of the tax code, I think. I'm not an expert in this, but there are plenty of articles about it online for sure. But it boils down to, I think, having the company had to have less than 50 million in assets, and you had to hold it for 5 years or something like that. It's pretty black and white. So I would definitely be looking into that to see if your company qualifies. If they don't, then you want to, well, if they don't, they don't. But if they may, you want to ask them to get working on the paperwork to establish the paper trail that shows that you do qualify for the QSBS exemption, because if that happens, I'm going to get in trouble here because, again, this is not professional advice, but I think you get all gains up to 10 million tax-free. It's at least 5 million, right? So we're talking potentially millions of dollars tax-free. So that's what I would do. Go look at QSBS. The other thing you might do is think about moving the asset into your 401k or your IRA or something like that, because, as you know, those things are tax deferred or even tax free if you do it right. So basically, you should talk to a financial planner, because this sounds like a nice exit for you, and I hope it is. But there are things you can do. You're right. But those would be two that come off the top of my head. Okay, that was our friend Dan. Also, folks, if you're interested, I'd love to hear where you're from. It's fun to, obviously, we had our friend Christian from Paris and some other folks from around the country, world, I mean. But I had questions coming in from United Arab Emirates and Chile and stuff earlier. I don't know who else here. So, okay, Scott. Can you help identify sources in the U.S. for large initial funding? 15 million. Our offers are all overseas. We're non-traditional. We build rockets. We will not have revenue for 2 years. Cool. Hardware startup. Good for you. Okay. So the short answer is no. I don't know much about hardware or large funding. I'm an early stage software guy mostly. But I guess that's, again, why I built startupinvestorsdirectory.com. You might go look at that. And if that looks helpful to you and you'd like to be a beta tester, check it out. And maybe there's some investors in there for you. The other thing to do would be what we were talking about with Michael at the top of the hour, which was find bloggers and people that cover this space, no pun intended, the rocket industry, and just read and get on those mailing lists and figure out who the investors are, right? Every company that's doing something has got investors. And this is a great tip for everybody. If you're looking for investors, back to what I was talking about with Christian as well, is to find people that are already interested in what you're doing, right? You're not going to talk people into this. It's either they're angels and it's their money and they're not going to give it away, or they're fiduciaries, meaning that they are venture capitalists or other types of investors, and it's their job to protect the money and only invest really wisely. So what do? They invest in things they know. And if they invest in things they know, that means they've already done it. So there's probably public record of it. And Google is your friend here. Go look around and figure out who invested in the companies that are like yours. And then call them, right? Email them. Okay. Tom says pre-seed funding. Tom, was that you in the, we couldn't get you on the mic there, but pre-seed funding, that's a big topic. I guess the short answer, we got a lot of questions. The short answer is, this is why I built this, because I figured there was demand, but startupinvestorsdirectory.com. Inez, hey Inez, nice to see you. Thanks for making this available. Yes, you're welcome. Suhaib, hey, nice to meet you, Suhaib. I think you sent in a question as well. If you'd like to come in on camera, we could talk about that. Inez is looking for somebody to help her do a case study. Okay, that's interesting. Any suggestions on best places to find such partners? So that's a question for me. Well, this is a good place, perhaps. We have students watch this show a lot. So if anybody out there is a student or wants to work on a case study, to support Inez's business development. You can find her in the chat room there. Other than that, I would go to the universities. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think you're in San Diego, as I recall. So UCSD, USD, SDSU. Up here, we've got UC Irvine. But of course, it wouldn't have to be local anymore. You might just Google it. I mean, there's, this doesn't have to be face-to-face anymore. Zoom is a lovely thing. But I would look around for that online. There's even, you could post a job even, right? If you call it a job, it's probably free, but somebody might be interested in doing that. Okay, so let's see. Mex DC, thank you, Scott. You're welcome. Demian Pedroza here in OC. If you're looking for equity sharing and equity sharing for initial team engagement, recommended percentages, limits, best practice. Okay, that's a good one there, Demian. Early stage founders often get tripped up by this. You need to have in writing everything early on, and you need to split things fairly with your team. So whether you're co-founders or not, somebody should be the CEO, equal partners and co-CEOs. Investors don't really like that. They like to know somebody is really the guy or the gal. And then you share as appropriate, depending on a few things. Obviously, how much they're contributing. This can be either hours, expertise, connections, or time, or all of those things, right? But it has to be relative to the other folks. It has to be relative to industry standards. There are industry standards for these things these days. You could look online. And then this is the key a lot of people miss. There should be vesting. You should have an agreement that says how much this person gets over what period of time. And here's the key. What happens if they stop contributing, right? So they may just quit. You may have a fight that happens. Something good may happen in their life. They may have a baby. They may have triplets, right? Or they, move across country and they can't be involved anymore because they need to get a job, right? Still, what happens, right? Do they keep the equity? Does it stop? All that kind of stuff. And you need to think those things. Think those things through. My other recommendation, I keep this right here for this question because we get this question a lot, is there's a methodology called Slicing the Pie. This is a website, Slicing the Pie. This is the handbook, but there's a website. There's an app for that. There's also one called comparably.com, and you can go out there and find the current sort of industry rates and so forth, because it's a lot easier discussion. It's a lot easier discussion with your partners saying, you think you deserve half and so do I, but you're only going to work 5 hours a week and on this and this. And for that, the industry suggests 7.3% vesting over 4 years quarterly or whatever it is, right? Having something objective can really help. And I would recommend that you do that. Okay, so what else? There are some folks moving over here from LinkedIn. Okay, it's interesting, Nick. Is that because LinkedIn wasn't working? Yeah, I'd love to hear if you guys are on LinkedIn or not, or what's working, because I can't tell. I'm busy. Okay, Sippo says an important question. I've been digging in answer for a while, and then we'll go back to some video questions, guys. This is a lot of me talking. What are the steps I have to go through in sequence to have a healthy, good startup? Meet accountants first or pricing? Oh yeah, you emailed in, didn't you? I saw this. Let me. Okay, Suhaib. Is this Suhaib? Yeah, you're from Ajman in the UAE. Okay, so here, this is what are the steps? He wants to know, what are the steps to go through? And his suggestions are meeting accountants first, or pricing experts, or web developers, or what comes first and then second. The answer is none of those. Zero, none. Do not start by meeting accountants. Do not start by meeting with web developers. Do not start with pricing experts. You need to meet with customers. This is the same topic that we came up with a little while ago. I think it was with Kevin. Customers are you need to meet with. What do they really need? You've already done this, so I'm just exaggerating for effect. But all of you, customers are what drive this, right? Investors these days don't fund ideas anymore. There's just they don't need to. They can wait for you to scratch and scrabble and blood, sweat, and tears and make a little money that proves you have something, and then they'll invest, right? So you have to talk to customers, ideally customers that will actually buy the thing you're talking about, and adjust course given the feedback they've given you, right? So you need to figure out how you're going to make money, why you're going to make money, from whom, how much, and how often. I should write that down. That's 5 good points, right? Maybe that'll go in a book too. But those are the things you need to do. I've seen so many entrepreneurs waste their time doing everything right. You don't want to go and get your business permits and design your logo and set up your corporate structure and get the stock option plan all set and get all these bits and pieces so that you're like all legal. That's bullshit. That you are hiding, right? You're hiding from the business. You're hiding from your job, which is to engage with customers and make them pay you. That's your job. Your job is not setting up stuff and having meetings. Your job is getting paid for stuff, right? So think, again, I'm exaggerating for effect, but it doesn't mean it isn't true. You got to meet with customers. What do you want? How often? How much will you pay for it? Why? Right? And that's the story you need to tell to investors. And if you start making money, then you go and meet with the accountants and figure out your tax problems. So, oh no, you have a big tax problem because you have too much money coming in. Awesome. That's the goal, right? Not to get your tax structure set up perfectly and then have no money. And more importantly, have no time left. This is why I really get excited about this, because I've seen people do all the setup and they spend all their money and all the time and all their enthusiasm setting up the perfect structure. And they even like leasing an office, right? Getting their name on spray painted on the parking spot, and then they're like, oh, I'm really not that into this anymore. And it took them like a year and $100,000 and they got nothing, right? So anyway, that's a pet issue for me. That's why I do this though, to help, focus on the money. Where is the money? Okay. So I hope that's helpful. Let's get back on camera here. Enough of me talking. I'm going to keep talking, but, okay, it's almost 1. Wow, we're really rolling here. Okay, so Corbin, I think, oh no, Carlos. Sorry, Carlos, did you want to come on camera? Hold on, let me bring a couple of you guys in here and let's see who wants to talk about what. And Meng too, you want to turn on your camera? You can join us too. Okay, so Carlo and Corbin, you guys with me?
Yeah, you hear me?
Okay, there we go. What did you want to talk about, Carlo? Just the quick version.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on equity crowdfunding for an early stage startup? Do you think that's a good way to show investors, So yeah, that's my question.
Okay, that's a great question. And Corbin, what was yours? You emailed, I think, didn't you? Oh, you're muted there, Corbin. Go ahead. Nope, still muted. Okay, well, we'll go with Carlo and we'll come back to you, Corbin, okay? Okay, so Carlo, yeah, crowdfunding, awesome. I love crowdfunding. I mean, I think crowdfunding is great, not necessarily as a financing vehicle, but because of what I was just talking about, customers. If you can get your customers to come in and demonstrate that they like what you're doing, that validates you, not just financially, but it validates that you have a business, right? And that's what investors want to know. Sorry, somebody's messaging me here. Oh, I needed to. Is that there, Meng? Does that get you what you need? Sorry, he's trying to come on camera. Okay, so crowdfunding can be great. There used to be a lot of concerns from professional investors that a crowdfunding round like gummed up your cap table. A capitalization table is the list of all the investors, basically. So you'd have 100 or 1,000 people on your cap table or something, and it would get all difficult. And that's true, but they've gotten kind of used to it. The industry has gotten more efficient. WeFunder and Republic and those sort of things. Oh, there's Yimeng. There we go. Okay. So we're getting close, Yimeng. Just hang on. We'll come to you in a second. Hello. I can see your ear. There she is.
Let me just.
Okay, just hang on a second. I'm talking to Carla. We'll come on back in a minute. Thanks. Okay. So it used to be kind of a no-no. Now it is, I think it's an okay thing, and it actually can be great validation. I wouldn't do it so much. I mean, if you hit the, what's the metaphor, strike when the iron's hot or something, think about it maybe as raising a ton of money, but if you can raise enough money to show that investors and other people that you're real and that people are excited about what you're doing, that's worth the money and the validation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, sure. My cautionary tale would just be that it takes a lot more to raise money on crowdfunding than people think. It's really a marketing exercise, right? You can't just put up an offer and expect a bunch of people to show up and give you money. You got to have some some dry powder, some cash to like make a nice video and, maybe buy a bunch of ads on, Instagram or, whatever your mechanism is, you really need to think about who your audience is first, because the last thing you want to do is put up an offer, and you raise like $8 or something, right? Then that actually looks bad, of course. But the crowdfunding companies are pretty sophisticated these days and will try to help you with that if they think you've got a legit offer. If you are thinking about that, or anybody is, I have connections at most of the crowdfunding companies. I actually am an investor in several of them. I love crowdfunding. I think it's a fantastic thing for the investors, the general public, and of course for us entrepreneurs. But if you like introductions, I can probably help with that. So you could use the contact form on any of my sites, and we'll reach out if that's useful. So cool. Nice to meet you. Okay. So let's see. So Corbin, let's try Corbin again, and then we'll go to Yi. Sorry there, Carlo. All right.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, there we go.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Nice to meet you.
Perfect. So my question was just about trying to find the proper evaluation number or multiplier. Specifically, my space is the mobile advertising space, and so it's hard to find companies that have actually gone through an acquisition, and that's public information. So I'm just trying to find the correct numbers on that before I start taking anything to investors.
Yeah, that's tough, right? Especially for smaller companies that aren't public or something, and they get acquired, you don't have any idea what the metrics were, right? Is that kind of what you're facing?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't have a great answer there, other than research, Google, right? There are resources you probably know about, TechCrunch or PitchBook, but those are expensive, and they're industry standard thing, like $5,000 memberships and stuff to Crunchbase. Sorry. So yeah, I guess at the same time, I would caution you to not spend too much. I mean, I don't know you, we just met, right? But if you have an engineering background or you're a CPA or something, you often get charmed by the spreadsheets, right? And that's a good thing to do, because investors do want realistic numbers, right? But in my experience, there's kind of two kinds of investors. And when you meet people, you can kind of figure out what they're looking for. There's kind of the detail investors, and then there's the vision investors, right? So if you're meeting with people who are like former CPAs or CFOs, they're probably going to really want to drill down on your assumptions, right? And really, it will be a big deal. On the other hand, if you're meeting with people who are more like vision investors, maybe they have a background more like in business development or something, and they're more like following trends, they won't be probably as particular on the specifics of the calculations, right? And that is probably more like solo investors, or people who have a background in that industry, like they kind of get it. They feel like they have an advantage anyway, as opposed to in the first category, VCs who are fiduciaries, and they're going to need to drill down the numbers, take it to their committee, to their partners, prove the math more. So it can be a little less of a lift if you're talking to the trend investor as opposed to the detail investor. And if that's helpful, so you don't worry about it too much, because the fact is, all of us know that these are assumptions, right? Well, we're not looking so much for the detail of the specifics of what it adds up to as a demonstration of your thought process and the fact that you've considered the many variables, because an estimate times an estimate times an estimate is nonsense, right? But what we need to know is it bigger than a bread box, smaller than a house? Is it blue? Is it green? And if things go wrong, what does it look like, right? That kind of stuff. So I applaud you for trying to be as detailed as you can, and you have to, but don't kill yourself either, because if they like you and they like the concept and they see that you're in a growth market, a good investor will work with you on, trying to refine the projections, as long as your initial set isn't just stupid, right? So
yeah, exactly. Perfect. Well, that's awesome. That helps with a lot of the mental stress about that part, because you always want it to be perfect.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's a natural thing, yeah. But you can waste a lot of time making it perfect, and when you should be talking to customers. Same thing. You sense a theme here. Okay, yeah. Nice to meet you. Okay, so then here's Yimeng. Hello there. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Where are you calling from?
I actually 2009 I came from China since 2009. So I'm immigrant, trying to be a good example, not the bad one.
Good for you. Where do you live now?
I live at Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice.
What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so for startup, I feel like it's really hard to do the fundraising. Fortunately, I work so I can support pretty much I use myself to get money and use that money to develop this product. It's called codecarding.com. I found it and I have a team. Right now we are trying to generate revenue and users. But my question to you is, like, I have some investors that in hand, they first of all say, oh, okay, I need to see the MVP. Now I feel like I'm beyond the MVP part because the website's running, is working, starting to generate users. And when I reach out to them, they say, oh, now I want to see the traction.
Yeah.
So what? So I don't know. I feel like, MVP or a beta, I don't know where is the cutting line between of them. And then should I just focusing on my, the what's called the user acquisition, or should I looking for the investors? I feel like I'm so many things jumping around.
Well, good for you. It sounds like you're making progress. So one of the lessons is celebrate the progress, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, your to-do list is endless, right? So good job, right?
Okay, thank you.
You gotta get over, one step at a time. So, okay, so yes, I hear what you're saying. Investors like to move the goalposts constantly, right? We want to see 5 customers. Now we want to see 10 customers. We want 10,000 a month in revenue. Now we want 20,000 a month in revenue. Oh, no, we meant 20,000 in profit. It's like just constantly, right? And it's not you, it's the industry, right? But it's also code. It's code that they really aren't ready to invest, right? So in some ways, it's feedback. There is never going to be a right answer, right? I have a friend a company I'm on the board of, and he's an engineer. So when he started the company, he asked all the investors, what do you need? And they said this, and then he did that. And he came back. So here I am, I'm ready for the money. Oh, no, we meant this, right? And he's an engineer, and he can't believe it, right? Like 5 times, I did this, and they still no money. He says they're always going to do that. What they're really saying is, yeah, we're kind of interested and we don't want to say no, but we're not really that interested. So you got to be careful about who you're talking to. And I think this goes back again, we're developing a theme today, talking to the right investors. So I don't know I don't even know what you do. I don't know what investors you're talking to, but I think it sounds like you need to work harder to find investors that match what you're doing, maybe, and less on developing the company. Because if you've got a beta and you've got an MVP, you're starting to acquire customers, that's great. You're pretty, and it is great. I'm not skipping over that at all. Good for you. You're going to need a few of those. So keep going on that. What you really want to do is get past the first dollar. Are you generating any revenue yet?
Yes. I think the last time we checked is like under $7.
$7? Or
yeah.
$7. Okay.
$7. That's it.
Okay. Well, that's more than 0. Good job. So yeah, obviously you want to add a couple zeros to that, right? But that's a milestone, right? So it sounds like, and I don't know, right? This is an entertainment show, so I don't know. But if I was you, I think I would be looking. You said you have a team. I would be looking at making the team, empowering the team to keep going, because it sounds like you already have the momentum to generate the MVP and make a little money, get some customers, and use the limited time you have, or maybe there's somebody in your team that could do this, in really researching who the investors are that like this space, so that you can contact them and not even ask for money, right? There's a famous phrase, maybe everybody's heard this, but you ask for money, you get advice. You ask for advice, you get money, right? And what that's really saying is that investors are about relationships, especially at the early stage where you are. You're not going to get a $20 million investment because you're not that big, right? You need like $500,000, it sounds like, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then you're talking about angels and you're talking about individuals, which means relationships, which means people like me who like, we've made the money, we're going to write you a personal check, right? So that's got to be a relationship. So you want to figure out, I would go on, there's another one for Christian, if he's still here too, Angel List, right? Angel List lists all kinds of angel investors, and you can see like what kind of companies they've invested in, and find your competitors, see who invested in them, and then just friendly, gentle, outreach, email. Hey, I saw you did this other company, or I see on LinkedIn you have a background in this. I'm doing this too, right? And I'd love to you don't even need to ask. You just kind of say, I'm going to send you some updates occasionally, and just whenever you have something good to say, not every day, right? But every couple weeks or every month or so, hey, we just had this, we got $7 in revenue, yay, or this, and just kind of keep hitting them just gently. And if they write back and say piss off, then of course you leave them alone. But try to develop those friendships with people that do this already. I think you might get different answers than what you're getting, which to me is code for right. And that's not you don't want to be spending your time talking to those people.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so I get it. Another question, if you don't mind, I ask, what happens if you pitching, the products to the similar field, and because the technology, this is obviously cocarding.com is technology, a way to shop with your friends and family online collaboratively, and I'm worried about people say the money, and just develop something better. They even have money. They even have a team.
Yeah.
You know me. Yeah, I feel like I'm scared in a way to approach the people who is in this field and I know everything could be do better job than me. But yeah.
Yeah, that's hard, and especially collaborative shopping is huge in China, right? Huge. We're just waiting for that to hit here. We've been talking about it forever, and hopefully you're the one that's going to do it.
Shopping.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Big business. There's no right answer there. You got to do what you got to do, right? You got to put it out there and hope and work to make your version better and different, right? There's just for something like, if you're doing something that's a trade secret that you can hide or use NDAs or something, fine. But this is a consumer product, so you have to put it out there. If it helps, my experience, a lot of entrepreneurs get worried about this, and it is a valid concern. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, you could give the same business plan and the same tools to everyone on this call today, and they would all implement it differently, right? You might start from the same place, but their vision won't be the same as your vision, and their abilities aren't the same as yours, and your connections, right, and your team. And one of the things about being an entrepreneur is believing that you can make a difference, not just in general, but by doing this, because you're the most passionate about it, right? And and that's true, right? You could send me every confidential thing you have right now, and I'd just mess it up, right? Because that's not my thing. I'm not into online shopping collaboratively, right? I know it's a big business. Like, you could hire me to come in as an executive and I'd do a good job because I'm a smart guy and I work hard, but I wouldn't make it happen. You're going to make it happen. And that's, you just got to believe that, right? That's all there is to it. And it also, in a space as hot as that, it also might open opportunities for you to partner with other people or get acquired, right? So that wouldn't maybe be the worst thing, because there's all that activity. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. I want to personally invite you to our cocarding.com. I will write in the private message.
Cool.
And I wish keep connecting. Yeah, I will be back.
Okay. Yeah, nice to meet you. Speaking of that, you can, if you'd like, you can put the URL of your company in, and all of you guys can do this in the chat room, and you could visit if you want. And you're all welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. If you do, please send a message, because I get so many requests. I don't just accept random stuff, but if you say who you are and that we met here, or you were at least in the audience today, I'd be happy to connect. Trying to build a tribe of like-minded entrepreneurs here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
All right. So what do we got left here? Let's get back to the let's get back to the chat room here. We're going long today. A lot of people today. I'll probably have to end this in about 15 minutes, if not sooner. So, okay. Tom says, Scott, I have a question. How do I get real estate syndication funding here in OC? Okay, so OC is Orange County. That's where I'm in Southern California. How do I get real estate syndication funding? I'm being quiet for a second because I'm thinking. Tom, I don't know much about real estate syndication funding. I'm a software and technology investor guy. Yeah, sorry. I got nothing. I'm glad you tuned in, right? Sorry. But everybody else, how can Tom find real estate syndication funding? That's definitely a thing. Yeah. Sorry, Tom. Moving on. Rosemary. Hi, Scott. We're 3 moms working hard on a new line of beauty products. Good job, Rosemary. Is there a foundation organization that we can contact for financial help? Perhaps. It depends on what you mean by financial help. If you mean, if you mean somebody to invest in you, maybe as 3 moms, there are a lot of people that are funding women-owned businesses these days. That's definitely a thing. You can Google that and find women. They call it impact. Impact investing is the venture capital phrase for investing in things that may have a return beyond just financial, right? So you're investing in veterans or immigrants or Black entrepreneurs or whatever, something that's going to help society in addition to the financial return. So you could Google for women impact investors and you'd probably find a bunch of them. There is a category for that actually at startupinvestorsdirectory.com. So if anybody wants to try that and that looks interesting, you can use the contact form there and contact us, and we'll send you a free code to be one of our beta testers. Be happy to, if that would help as well. Now, the other hand, this is something I always like to talk about. So if you meant financial help in the sense of consulting or accounting or guidance on making a business plan, financial projections, pro formas, that kind of stuff. Yes, there are organizations that do that for sure. And one of my favorites is the SBDC, Small Business Development Corporation, SBDC. It's a federal U.S. organization. It's your tax dollars basically at work. The SBDC has offices all over the country, including here in Orange County and at the University of California, Irvine. And they consult. Their mission is to help small businesses, and they don't have to be tech software businesses, any kind of business. They will help and consult on financial matters to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. So SBDC, you can Google that. There's also SCORE, which stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. The SCORE is also a national organization. It might even be international, actually. Service Corps of Retired Executives. And just as you might suggest, as the name suggests, it's full of old retired people who like to volunteer their time to help young business owners or younger business owners. So SCORE and SBDC might be helpful to you, Rosemary. I hope that's useful. Moving along. Let's see. Scott, recent university grad working on a video-based dating app, would like to join your live and get advice on crowdfunding. I think we just did that, right, Michael? So yeah, I think that sounds good. I would recommend crowdfunding. Nick says Scott is right. That's my favorite comment of the day. We specialize in Web3 companies, MVC, and line up for Series A. Traction is everything. You need traction. This is Nick Buchanan. If you have an audience to convert to revenue, that can be a way to prove out your business. That's right. Yep, took him way too long to raise. Yes, agreed. Okay, let's see. Gut Swings. Scott, our company currently considering crowdfunding for business, not product development, as pre-seed funding. What due diligence, milestones, objectives that we need to consider? So getting ready for a crowdfunding raise. That's interesting, Gut Swings. Well, a crowdfunding raise is really a lot like a VC raise, right? You need to have all your shit together, basically. Oh, Eco, you want to come on camera there? Okay, sure. Let's do that on camera. There he is. Is it Eco or Echo?
Echo.
Echo. Hello, Echo. Nice to meet you.
Hello. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Where are you?
Perth, Australia.
Oh, great. Down under. All the way down under.
Yes. Yes. So I kind of almost give up on this restream because I need to reload several times. But yes, so we currently in the stage where we already have several users, and we already get some traction in the in our income. But the problem is we are so in our area, it's the saying is, if we want to get funding, is basically trying to squeeze water from rocks.
Right.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So so the question is, we are trying to get we are trying to get business funding. So it's not a product funding anymore. To get us from the crowdfunding, and hopefully we can fish a bigger fish in the in our currency. That's what we are trying to do. So what I want to hear is more the warning rather than something that is like encouragement.
Okay, smart man, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of dangerous waters here. Okay, so when you say business funding, does that mean that the business is already operating and has revenue?
Yes. So we already have revenue. We are I'm not the co-founder. I'm more in the first first employee. So I already get some. So we already have some agreement in the stock options and everything. So we already have IM and everything.
Okay, good. Okay, so the question is crowdfunding obstacles, essentially.
Probably what we need to be aware before we go, because like you said, crowdfunding, we need to have a marketing, we need to spend some money for that, and Mike as well makes everything like see us and everything. And what I want to hear more like what we need to be aware of, because probably some crowdfunders, after they get some kind of our stock options, and then they like run away or something like that. So we want to, yeah. So this is like business crowdfunding. So it's not product. It's no longer product crowdfunding.
Okay. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is domicile, and domicile is just the legal word for where are you, right? So if you're in, is a company based in Australia, like incorporated in Australia? Okay.
Yes, we are incorporating.
If you have U.S. investors, then there may be tax and even currency issues, right? Going back and forth the currency in the different tax jurisdictions, which may or may not mean that you can even do it, right? I'm an investor in a company in Brisbane that I was able to because they had set up a U.S. entity, and I tried to do another one that I ran across down in Melbourne, but they were only an Australia-based company, so I couldn't invest. It was just like, it was too complicated. I mean, it could, but it was too complicated to do all the paperwork, right? And that was those were crowdfunded investments, actually. So jurisdiction, anyway, that's the thing to be careful of. And then what was the other thought I had? Oh, if you have revenue, WeFunder in particular, and probably the other platforms, are doing more and more with debt. And I would be looking at not just crowdfunding for equity, but you might be able to raise the money as debt, meaning that people loan you the money, and you pay a certain interest rate rather than giving them a portion of the company. That, I think, is a big growth area. Actually, this is for the other Michael, who was asking about crowdfunding as well. Raising debt is an increasingly popular option. Because it just makes sense, right? At least if you have the revenue to support it, it can be a much better deal for the company rather than diluting yourself and your shareholders. So I would be looking at that. Other than that, the problems are pretty much what I'd already talked about, in terms of a lot of people think that if they post an offer on a crowdfunding platform, suddenly money is going to show up, and it's really not. It's a marketing exercise. But I would add to that, it even can be a customer acquisition exercise. Like, you can actually find customers if you have a popular product, especially a consumer product, right? Like a new cooler or a iPhone accessory or something. You can actually attract a lot of new customers that way. So you can look at it as a marketing exercise in terms of your budgeting that maybe pays for itself by raising money as well. And then the other one that you hear a lot of complaints about are the different levels of rewards and perks that people get, right? If they invest $500, they get a t-shirt, and then they invest $5,000, they get this and whatever, those kind of levels of perks. And there's research worth doing on what are the appropriate perks and levels for your offer. Because it's funny how, I know some very wealthy people who will do a lot of things for like a free t-shirt, like you can really afford that t-shirt, but people get turned on by that. And I would spend some time thinking about your incentive structures. So is that helpful?
Yeah, but that's more about the milestone and perks. That's more in the product development crowdfunding, isn't it? So
it's a customer incentive. If you want to attract interest, I would still do it.
Customer, okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're selling something. What you use the money for, they don't care so much as that they believe in what you're doing. And the perks might be different. Maybe a t-shirt's a bad example in your context, right? But
yes.
Everybody likes the feeling of getting something for free. So this is still a sales exercise, even if you're going to spend it in a different way.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you. Got to keep moving here. We're already almost an hour and a half. Thanks for checking in from Perth. I need to get to Perth. I've spent a lot of time in other parts of Australia, but I've never been all the way over there. There's actually a group there called the Perth Angels. Have you run across Perth Angels yet?
Yes. So we already asking people around. We already start to go around for investor, but it's still so because our technology is in fine arts technology.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit hard because in Perth it's more based on mineral and resource.
Yeah, it's a mining town, right? Yeah. Right. All right. Well, you'll get there. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so let's, man, we're an hour and a half here. Let me cruise through the chat here, and then we will wrap things up. Angie says, can you please repeat those 5? I think that was, if Angie's still here, what was I talking about? I was like customers or something, right? I think I wrote that down. Oh, yeah, here it is. I did have a note on that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, how to make money. Who's going to pay you? Let's see. How to make money, from whom, why, and how much. That was 4. So there was a 5th one. But that's the idea, right? It's kind of like a who, what, where, when, and why sort of scenario. And the real point, Angie, is it's about the money, right? It's really hard for us as entrepreneurs. We get so wrapped up in the vision, of like Kevin was saying, once it scales, it'll be beautiful. And even before that, the product itself and the solution, especially if it's a product that came out of personal experience, some personal pain or problem that we're solving, we get so wrapped up in that we forget to talk about the money. And because this is startup fundraising office hours, as it says right there. Fundraising, right? This is about the money. And you got to think about the money because that's what investors care about. They may like your vision. They may invest in that space. They may feel passionately about the topic also. But as investors, their first priority is return of capital with a 10x return or whatever their benchmark is, right? So you got to start with the money. And that's why I keep hitting this, the drum about, customers, who, how much, how often, why, that kind of stuff. So I hope that's useful. Okay, and then let's see. Thank you for your answer. It's been really helpful. You're welcome. Jay says, building a protocol and model for facilitating monetizing owners' data and more personal communications between enterprise and consumer. That sounds cool. Detroit, okay, homeboy. All right, Cass Tech. All right, are you a CT grad? Nice to meet you, Jay. Hope to see you again. That's fun. And then Peter says, throwing this out just to help those. Okay, so Peter, yeah, got that. Okay, so I think that's all the chat I can see, and I guess we're about out of time. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I hope it's been useful to you. I'm Scott Fox. I run the Startup Council, which is a organization dedicated to helping folks like you grow your companies, make a difference in the world, and hopefully turn around and help other entrepreneurs too. So thanks for being here. Please tell your friends, like and share, click to follow. You can find me on LinkedIn if you'd like. You can check out startupinvestorsdirectory.com, and we'll be back next month. So get on our mailing list if you haven't already. The mailing list is a good idea because that way You'll hear about these future events. And there it is on camera. Startupeventnews.com. Startupeventnews.com. All right. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a great day and an even better fundraising. Thanks.